Hi, Pramitha. Welcome to Software People Stories. So happy to have you here.
Hi Gayatri, it's pleasure to be here.
So, Pramitha, we normally like to get hear your introduction in your own words. Would you like to introduce yourself for our listeners?
Yes, sure. So I am born and brought up here in Bangalore. So I have not traveled much outside Bangalore in India. So I did my engineering in electronics and communication and worked in Wipro Technologies initially. I joined Wipro as a fresher and worked there for about 6 years. And then after I got married, we moved to UK. So even in UK, I was working. So initially, it was difficult for me to get a job over there because we had moved countries. But then I kind of, again started working over there as well. So worked there for about 6 years again. And then I decided to continue my studies, after working for about 10 to 12 years. And I did my master's in space engineering from University of Surrey. And after that, we kind of moved back to India. And so I had to take a break because I was having baby, and then we had moved countries, and getting job here was difficult because mainly I had switched the domains just before that because I had done my master's in space engineering. Then now I am kind of entrepreneur, and I have my own startup. So juggling between, looking after my kid and looking after the startup, both are kind of, same age.
Wonderful, yeah, wonderful. I know you are a founder and CEO of Transcend Satellite Technologies, and you are also working as a consultant in space research programs, right?
Yes.
So excellent. I have so many questions lined up for you, Pramita. So first, I think wanted to congratulate all the women listeners who are listening on the Women's Special, where we are highlighting and focusing on very different strata, different segments of women who are women achievers by themselves. So thank you, Pramita, for uh, being who you are in terms of ensuring that you continue to invest in yourself as well as the society around you. So, first question that is running in my mind is you are saying that you have not traveled much, but you want to put 75 people in the space from India. How did that vision start, and why? Uh, Given that India as a country has, being in a developing nation, has its own set of challenges. How did this vision come about?
Yeah, so actually, like when I was in UK, okay, and I started working, so then I realized, so much of cultural difference which is there in India and abroad, okay, and then the kind of opportunities students get over there, and people get over there, even in terms of job opportunities and everything, it is tremendous, okay, and then coming to the space industry, when I was doing my masters, so I had opportunity to kind of participate in a UK SEDS competition for designing a lunar rover. Okay, that is like, then I thought like there are so much of opportunities available for here students, and then it came to my mind that back in India also, I need to create this kind of opportunities to the students to make them, get this kind of exposure to industries like space industries, so which they can have the exposure even when they are studying. So the thought came to me over there. But when I moved back to India, so I came across Indian Technology Congress Association, who had this idea of 75 student satellite mission. So, I kind of was very enthusiastic to join them at that stage. And then I enabled them to start from concept to the implementation stage. Like when you think that 75 student satellite mission itself back in 2018. So it was kind of impossible task. Like universities were not only university students, like even common man or general public, everybody thinks satellite design is only for scientists working in ISRO and only for a few set of people. But I want to change that perspective. Okay, so then I kind of created a ecosystem in ITCA, and made them realize that, you know, small CubeSats can be designed by students of any age, like from 8th standard onwards. And then I created kind of awareness kind of programs with universities, and then I made them talk to a lot of space companies. Like its space industry is a nascent industry, so I made them talk to a lot of companies both in India and in Europe, and made that possible. And I was there through until they launched their first CubeSats through one of the universities.
Excellent. Wonderful, Pramitha. I think it's somewhat what you're saying is you're actually democratizing understanding of space, as well as being able to more appreciate the whole complexity of it. Sometimes we all think that it's too huge. If we break it down to smaller pieces, as well as interact and create an ecosystem of sorts, you created that. Excellent, Pramitha. So tell me about your own journey, right? You've been a Wipro hardware engineer and worked in UK as a hardware engineer. What prompted you, from being a hardware engineer to move to the satellite space? What prompted you? I know you've got an education there, but what made you make that move?
Yeah, actually, like from when I was from my childhood, I had a fascination of working for aircrafts. Okay, so then when I did my engineering, like I didn't know even then whether it would be still possible. So, but I knew when I was doing engineering, I wanted to be in the electronic design field or in the VLSI design field. So when I joined Wipro as a fresher, I told them I don't want to go to software. I want to work in the hardware section. You just put me in the hardware section, whatever it is. Okay, so like that itself was kind of bold enough of me to go approach them and tell me I want to work in this sort. So when I moved to UK, I got an opportunity to work for British Aerospace, where we designed mission system computer for a combat aircraft. At the same time, the ISRO's Mangalyaan mission was kind of successful, and it created a huge awareness, and that event was, kind of very inspirational for me. So at that time, I was thinking, okay, I already am working for an aircraft. Then what next? Why can't I work for designing satellites and spacecrafts? So and then I had this desire for doing my masters as well, which I didn't have opportunity to do it in India so far. So then I started looking for masters program all over UK, and then I did this search for almost 2 years because I was not satisfied with the normal masters program which was available. So I kind of searched on for almost 2 years, and then I came across this University of Surrey, which has this Masters in Space Engineering program. And then when I went through all the kind of syllabus and the kind of subjects they taught, so I could connect with the kind of subjects, and that program was so very well tailor made that anybody with any kind of background could do this course and then get on to the space industry. So that kind of helped me very much to get into the space industry. It is like it is like we need to kind of keep looking for opportunities, keep looking for what we like doing, and keep looking for ways of fulfilling our dreams. Then, when the opportunities come by, we just have to grab it.
Wow, excellent, Pramitha. So you're saying you were working in the aerospace in the software side, or in somewhere in the middle where between software and hardware side, and that's when it sort of piqued your interest to uh, enable yourself. Pramita, tell me about, we keep talking about product design for internet firms, for RO, for all the systems that we are using, right, on a day-to-day basis. How different is it when we talk about the same product design, when we talk about space or aerospace? I understand aerodynamically the weight and everything is very different compared to what we normally see, right? What else is different from a when you look at it design? What are those parameters that you are looking at?
See, space industry is such an industry, it requires people from all streams. It's not only engineering, even if you are a doctor or a from a biotechnology field or a microgravity field or even just Bachelor of Science. And then coming to engineering, if you take consider a satellite, there are various aspects of it where we need, mechanical design engineers, electrical engineers, electronic engineers, software engineers, and like even management people with management background. So like you need varied kind of people to work in the space domain, and it is not limited just to engineering or software or anything like it is. So it is such an industry, it's like an ocean where it can accommodate all sorts of people.
Wow. I always thought that when you're talking about product design, it is more in the electrical, electronics, and space industry, and not across so many different sectors. So, how do you become cross-functional? We keep talking about, T-shaped engineer, being E-shaped engineers, and all of that, right? How do you really get across all these different domains, Pramita, in terms of building it, right? When you build it, you have to understand a little bit of what other person is doing, so that you create that design which works, correct? So how do you when you work with students, how do you teach them that skill?
It is like more of the overall understanding which one has on the subjects. It's like when we take our teachers, right? So they make concepts so simple that the students can understand even complex mathematics, algebra, geometry, and everything. We don't realize it actually when we are students. The power of teachers. So it is like when see, I am working both on the commercial industry and also I am working with students, right? So I do I like some part of my time I do allocate for working with students, for providing some sort of training, or through the 75 student satellite mission, or creating some sort of workshops for them. So that is like for me, that is kind of giving back to the society, and making this space technology available to as many students as possible. So it is just that we have to think from the perspective of a student. If I have to kind of learn about this technology, and as a student, what will I be looking for? And then when you start interacting with the students, you will know students nowadays are kind very very smart. You don't even, you just have to give them a little opportunity and they learn a lot by themselves, and they do a lot by themselves. So it is, we just have to understand that perspectives and put it across in the way they can understand. So that's about it.
Wow. One of the things that, when in preparation to talking to you, I was going through a few podcasts myself in terms of space. And most of the things that are being discussed in the space is the amount of AI, artificial intelligence, that is being used in not just to see or launch a spatial vehicle, but also predicting the outcomes, predicting the what are the possibilities. So, is your company right now investing in that space in terms of saying how do you skill your oneself in the artificial intelligence, getting the data, and projecting it in a 3D or a 4D kind of a dimensions. How is that sort of a software dimension playing in Pramitha?
Okay, so actually there are two aspects. One is designing the satellites, that is called upstream, and then there is downstream where people work on the data which we get from the satellite. So AI is mostly used on the downstream applications. If for example, like we have a lot of Earth observation satellites which sends pictures of the Earth. We have seen those pictures when we see the weather forecast in televisions. So there are a lot of AI algorithms which work on these pictures, and they help to bifurcate the kind of data we are looking for. For example, it will bifurcate the data about the cyclone, or where the about the temperature, and about floods, and things like that. So using AI applications is more on the satellite data, and on different types of satellite data, segregating it, analyzing it, and coming up with various different solutions, and in various different industries the data is being used. So the AI industry, or the AI algorithms, or the AI software is implemented on downstream satellite data.
Not in the actual space launch itself, is it? For the space launch, we are using a lesser amount of artificial intelligence, is it? In terms of creating a path or creating a most viable, route and all of that.
Yeah, so that way I think AI is still used in a lot of the simulation tools which we'll be using, all the software tools which we'll be using. Like we use a few software tools to simulate the orbit in the space. So in those kind of applications, I think lot of amount of AI is, I mean, not lot, some amount of AI is already present. Like when we do a thermal simulation of the electronic design which we do, so those softwares are built with some amount of AI. So.
Got it, Pramita. When we were younger, right? One of the first things we used to imagine ourselves is how beautiful it'll be to go launch ourselves to space and everything. So when you speak with your students, how do you motivate them? I mean, if you think about it, with all the SpaceX and a lot of these companies are already available. So what is it that the current group of kids, as our students who are getting into the space, motivated about? What is making that happen?
Here I have to say I don't have to put any effort, because students are self-motivated. Like they know a lot about what is going on in the space industry all over the world. So when I talk about different kinds of payloads or different types of satellites, they are kind of already aware of it. And because even in India a lot of awareness programs happen. So students are kind of self-motivated when they want to, the thing is, compared to our generation, students know what they want to do already. So they are already working on it before we asking them to work on something.
That makes our life a lot more difficult, right? You have to really ensure that you make it easier for them to consume and being able to create those fantastic projects. So Pramita, when you look at your own career trajectory, right, what are the few things that some of the aha moments you've had that you want to share with our listeners? If it's not too confidential, if you can share some of the aha moments that you've had, some of the things that had taken off, like literally.
Definitely. Yeah,
Go ahead.
definitely there are moments, because as I told you, when I was doing engineering, I kind of wanted to do VLSI. But the thing, when I joined Wipro as well, like I approached them and said I want to work in the hardware or VLSI side, definite. And when I got to work on it, that was my first moment which I was really overjoyed that I got an opportunity to work on the field I wanted, because at that point of time I was not very sure of being a software engineer. Okay, so I was kind of scared to become a software engineer. I was very comfortable with the hardware, so I kind of did it. And then, like, because I liked the work which I was doing, so every year I kept on winning some kind of award. Now that was very nice moment for me. And even when I went to UK, so like I did win continuous excellence award for a couple of years. And so when I was working for Dell through Wipro, so we could have a patent idea which was recognized by Dell. So that was one of the moments. And more than all of these moments, the memories, the experiences, and the learning activities which I had all along the journey. So that was kind of wonderful. They say the old times doesn't come back again. So the memories are one of the treasures which I have.
So, if you have to relook at your career, right? I'm sure you're saying from a understanding, from a decisions that you've taken across, staying in the VLSI, staying, upskilling yourself, you've done it. So, what are few misgivings you have had? Some of the things that, oh, I could have done this better, I could have done that better. Has there been any moments like that that you can share?
Well, it is difficult to tell that way. Because if I look back, you always think you could have done better. You always think you could have worked on a project better, in a better way than you actually done. So then you always think you could have made a decision differently. But then what happens with you is how the life is. So the thing is, like, we have to accept what life brings on to us, and make that into an opportunity, rather than kind of regretting what the things which we did not get to do.
Mm. I was expecting such a reply already, Pramitha. So bang on. In terms of making the most of the opportunities that we get and keep building over it, right? So when you some of us coming back to the question around space and software and intelligence that we have, yeah, as you know, one of the recent articles that I read is that in the space right now, in like a baseball size objects right now in the space itself, there are about 1 million objects which are just lying around, which have just which are not even moving on itself, right? It means that those are potential dangers, and that is what at least the research seems to be suggesting. And if we think about it, is that sustainable in terms of having so many spaceships going? And while data is important, critical, are we also ensuring that we are having a very sustainable space program? What are your views in terms of sustainability there? I know sustainable Earth, air, all of that is more talked about than sustainable space. So what are your views on that?
Yeah, this is a very wonderful point which you have touched upon. Okay, space situational awareness is very important for everybody who is working in the space industry all over the world. Okay, so the thing is, when student launch satellites, or now everybody are talking about launching a constellation of satellites, which is like sending hundreds and thousands of satellites into outer space in the low Earth orbit. So after some time, when at the end of life, because these smaller satellites are designed only for about 1 year or 3 years or up to 5 years lifetime, and a few of them may stop working earlier. So it is like those, when they stop working, they become space debris. That means like they can be harmful for the existing satellites and also the space environment in the outer atmosphere of the Earth. Um, when you consider geostationary satellites, which is at 36,000 kilometers from Earth's surface, so there is something called graveyard orbits, where the satellites will be kind of moved to a different orbit so that it doesn't become a problem to the existing geostationary satellites. But when it comes to low Earth orbit, so we need to have a deorbiting technique in the satellites. So deorbiting technique in the sense, due to the Earth's gravitational pull, we have to move the satellite from their orbit to make them come inside the Earth's atmosphere, where they can burn and destroy themselves. And that way, these will not be left over in the outer atmosphere, and they'll be, once their mission is complete, so they can be destroyed, so they don't create a hazard. So like very few people, and even through ISRO and in space, people are working on space situational awareness. So we recently had a workshop organized by ISRO and InSpace in Bangalore, where I was also one of the panelists. So I spoke about industry and academic collaboration for research and creating different types of deorbiting techniques, which would be very small and which would consume very low power, but which can be easily integrated in all satellites. So once their mission is complete, they can be the altitude can be decreased, brought down to the Earth's atmosphere, and it will burn itself. So that way, like we are kind of that is one of the ways where we can reduce the space debris. And then like and through my company, we are also working on a project where we can kind of track, detect and capture the space debris.
Excellent, because one of the things that we keep saying, right? Some of these practices, when we start, because it's a nascent industry, as you mentioned, and if those practices are in place, it's going to be a lot more easier for our time to come. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm hoping that more and more satellites, when we launching, it also has a life cycle, and that life cycle doesn't end at a point where data is being captured, right? It is also ending at a point where it's sustainable and it is kept in a way which is easier for the for it to auto combustion or whatever that technique is called that you're saying. So,
Yes.
Pramitha, tell me this, as you, I know you've already got your degree and everything, right? But how do you keep abreast with this sort of, in this kind of a field? In software as a field, right? I know we have several techniques. We constantly, be it AI, be it hardware, a lot of things keeps moving, and we know what things are going, how things are going because of papers and because of conferences. How does it work in the space industry? Is that similar? How do you keep abreast with what is happening?
It is like first thing is like space industry is a small industry. I mean, it will not remain small anymore. So we have to keep updating ourselves with the news about what is happening in the space industry, and so we have to do the reading. We have to, keep ourselves, with. We have to be aware of what is happening.
Okay. Thank you, Pramitha. So I know we have been having a wonderful conversation. Just wanted to any thoughts that you want to share with our listeners, Pramitha, those who are in the software side or in the hardware side, who want to be part of the space industry. What any thoughts that you want to share?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, see, space industry requires software engineers, hardware engineers, and communication engineers on the RF side, and orbit design engineers. A lot of people from various different backgrounds. And space industry need people, and now that Indian and global space industry is growing, so if people are interested, they can, definitely come and work with startups or some of the space companies, because there are always openings available, so they can give it a try.
Great. So happy to have you here, Pramitha. And for our listeners, Pramitha spoke about democratizing satellite and space launching, and how she showed her own journey of being interested and being invested in the journey. Thank you so much for your time, Pramitha. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I hope, I could reach for many people, many software engineers or many women. And I just want to tell them that don't limit yourself.
Thank you so much.